on.
All right, so we've already selected the theme of our website. We've got our navigation bar in a way that we like it. And now it's time to actually start adding content to our website. So this is the fun part. This is the important part. This is the most challenging part. It's really, the reason why you're making a website. So what we're going to do before we even touch this bar over here, if I double click anywhere on my Google site, then this will pop up. I think I've heard people call it the Pokeball, whatever. So it gives you 5 options, and they're kind of like the most popular options of what one might need to do on their website. You can add an image, you can embed code, you can go from Google Drive, you can upload from your actual computer, and you can add text. We're not going to talk about embedding right now, that'll be a separate video, but let's just upload an image, text, and Google Drive. The upload from your computer, pretty self-explanatory. So if I click images, then kind of like when I was adjusting my header, I've got 4 options. I can do by URL. We're not going to do that. I can search Google Images, just like I mentioned earlier. All the results are labeled for commercial reuse with modification, so you can use all of these images totally free, and it's great. It's legal. From my albums or from Google Drive, I'm going to add. Wow. Oh, whoops. I was going through Google Drive. I'm going to add just a picture of myself. I'm going to click it. You can see that it's selected because it's got the blue arrow. I can select multiple pictures if I wanted to, but for now I'm only going to do this one. And obviously my video is right on top of the select button, which I'm going to click. It adds my photo in just right there. Now you can see these dots and you can see these choices here. I can adjust the size of my photo just to fit the needs of my website. I can crop it. The crop feature is kind of limited. I can zoom it in and out, and then I can move it around within that, but I'm not going to do that. Click the uncrop button. I can add a link, which I'm going to make a separate video about. That's a really powerful thing. And then, of course, I can delete that. Alternatively, I can replace my image, so I can upload from my computer or select an image again. I can add alt text, which is very important. This is for accessibility. If there's some accessibility software that a user is using, it will actually tell them what the picture is of. So we'll just put Mr. John smiling. And then we can say whether or not it's a decorative image or not. I'm not going to put that. And so that just allows for that accessibility feature. Additionally, I can add a caption, and that pretty much just looks like it adds a text box just right under it, which you can do it that way, or you can just double click and add a text box like that. So speaking of which, I'm going to add a text box over here. Hello. And I've got all these options here. I can make this into a normal text, a title, heading, subheading, or small. So I'm going to put this as a heading, and then I'm going to add another text box right under it as normal text. Welcome to Mr. John's class. This is super cheesy. That's not actually what I would put. No offense if that's actually what you would put. That's great. I just don't like talking about myself that much, which I guess one could not discern by this video. Okay, up next I am going to, let's talk about the things that I can do to my text. So I can make it bold. Your text has to be highlighted for that to happen, and I can italicize it. Can I underline? No, I cannot. I'm using keyboard shortcuts. Command B on a Mac and Command I, that's how to bold and italicize. I can mess with the alignment of my text. I can also add numbers and bullet points, and then I can also add a link. Of course, I can also delete my text box. I could use code to add a font, or I could make it into the code font rather. I can strike through that font or that writing, and then I can just clear the formatting altogether. And if I clear formatting on this, I guess it's not going to let me because there's not much formatting that I can do there. Okay, moving on from that. From Google Drive, this allows me to add, I can either do an entire folder, which is cool, and this is just my newsletter folder, or I can add just a singular document, and this is just anything from Google Drive. So I can add that newsletter in there. Okay, let me move myself out of the way so that we can get over to the fun stuff, and that's the insert toolbar. So once again, these 4 options are here. You notice that the upload from your computer option is not there. I'm not really sure why they do that. In fact, it's not on here at all, but it's still an option if you double click. And then, so right under those 4 options, there's the layouts bar. So these layouts are just quick and easy things that you can drop into your website. And it's kind of like adding a text box and an image at the same time. So it just speeds up the process a little bit if this is the way that you want your website to look. So I'm going to add this one. It's just simple. Click to add text. And I can move this actually over here on the right. I'm going to move this to the very top, and you can see where that blue line was. And I can duplicate a section if I want that. Command Z will undo that if I'd like to. I can delete it, and then of course I can set the background. I can use emphasis 1, emphasis 2, or I can actually use an image. But I'm going to keep this on regular for now. So once again, that gives me more text. This is not a test. This is real life. I don't know what that means. And then when I click on here, it will allow me to upload from my computer, select an image from Google Drive, a YouTube video, calendar, or map. All of those are great, but right now I'm going to select, let's do an image from my albums. We'll put the Edpuzzle logo in there. Why not? Move myself back. Cool. Okay, scrolling down below the layouts, I can add a table of contents, and this is going to be at the top of my website. Hopefully, that's probably the best place for a table of contents. And let me show you, when I preview this, so what's supposed to happen, it's not going to do this actually in the preview mode. Let me go to the actual website. So I'm going to click publish, and then in a second I'm going to click right here. Nope, totally not true. Right here, this down arrow, view published site. And now when I click on hello, so this is not a test, it would just take me to here. If I click hello, it'll take me all the way down to that section, which is cool. So if you've got just a lot of information on your website, then you would probably want a table of contents for each page. I would kind of advise against having so much information on a page that it's hard to find. You want your users to be able to find information easily and quickly. So I would advise against needing a table of contents. So additionally, I can add an image carousel, which is awesome. It allows me to have multiple images in just the same image box, and then it'll just scroll through them. So I'm going to go to my albums. I'm going to click this. I'll maybe put just 5 pictures. And then, of course, once again, I'm on top of the select button. So I selected 5 different pictures, click select. They're all uploading at the same time. So a carousel must have at least 2 images. It'll just flip back and forth between them. And so by default, it'll be so that users can actually just scroll automatically through the images. But if I want them to scroll, users would scroll manually through the images. But if I want them to scroll automatically, I just have to click, let me show you that again, this settings cog right here, and then click auto start, and then click insert, and it's here. So now, when I take a look at my website, it will automatically be scrolling through. Now, I still have the opportunity or the option to scroll through them by myself. And it looks like once I start doing that, the auto scroll kind of is disabled, which is nice because it would be a bummer for someone to go back and look at a picture and then only to have it move on 2 seconds later. Cool. Let's get back to this. So you can add a button, which I'm going to make an entire video about that. You can make a divider, which is very important. Let's talk about dividers in a separate video, actually. You can add a YouTube video. I click YouTube, and it's going to be search for YouTube. So you can either just search YouTube and you have access to any videos here, or click uploaded, and any YouTube videos that you've actually created will just conveniently be stored right there, assuming you're in that Google account. You can add a calendar from Google Calendars, which is a cool thing to do. You can add a map, and what's really awesome about this, so you can set it to a certain location, which obviously you want to be cautious about. Your website will most likely be public on the internet, and you may or may not, depending on what you're doing, want like a map to your school, right? That's not necessarily the safest thing to do. Another cool thing that you can do, obviously use your discretion here, is use Google My Maps, which you can access through Google Drive. And what you would be able to do there is if you have a scavenger hunt for your students to complete, or maybe have a field trip with multiple locations, you can create a map that has all of those locations on them, and people can access it through your website through this. Okay, let's keep going. So we just talked about maps. You can add Google Documents, Google Slides, Sheets, Forms, and Charts. That's pretty much the same as adding from Google Drive, but it maybe just sorts it a little bit easier. And just the way to do that is pretty much the same as how I added this Google document in the first place. I'm just going to click Documents, and then I'm going to have all of my most recent Google Documents there. It's pretty convenient. And then I just double click, and it shows up. And that's pretty much it. All right, let me think real quick. Did I forget anything? Okay, I paused the video to think about it. I don't think I forgot anything. Make sure as soon as you have completed editing the content on your website that you go ahead and click that publish button so that all of that stuff is now public. I've made a mess. Time for me to fix it.